Heads up, this video is gonna get emotional. First of all, I cut off a bunch of my hair. It's shorter now. That's how haircuts work, in case you didn't know. Let's start with some basic explanations first. Hi, I'm Echo. The last 72 hours for me have been kind of crazy. At the time I'm filming this, yesterday I was in Iceland. I got back at like 1 a.m. and I have been working on a video that's just taking way longer than I thought it was going to take, so I just need to get something on my channel so that you guys know I'm not dead. And this is it. It's just gonna be a casual thing, real quick. We're just gonna talk about some stuff. Okay, so here's the deal. At first I was debating addressing the whole like LGBT restriction thing that's happening on YouTube, because that is absolutely ridiculous. But everyone else is saying it better than I possibly could, plus YouTube has finally addressed it and they are working through the problem. So earlier I was scrolling through Twitter and I happened to see this one tweet by a YouTuber that I really respect, but that just kind of like struck a nerve with me. I'm just gonna read this really quick because that's the easiest way to convey information. So many of you in my mentions complaining about being in school. Girls across the globe would love to go to school but can't. You're lucky. First of all, I want to clarify, I love Louise. Louise has made videos that have sincerely changed my life. I have like a lot of body issues because I'm a human being and that's how humans function, but this video has sincerely changed my life. She's an amazing person and I love what she does. I have a lot of respect for Louise, and I do understand the whole count your blessings kind of attitude. However, I have certain issues with this tweet, so I want to try and break this kind of into 3 parts. For starters, there's more to being in school than just getting an education. Everyone should be able to get an education, but a school is a social environment, and a lot of the time you can be surrounded by people who aren't exactly the kindest humans. I absolutely hated high school. It was, you know, some of the worst years of my life were spent in high school. I had a lot of mental health issues that the school did not care about, that the other students did not care about. I had to deal with bullies and assholes. I remember there was this one girl who would make like a habit of trying to tell me that I was going to go to hell. You know, just on the daily in science class, you really need to change your ways or you're gonna go to hell. That was a good memory I took from high school, but I think she was dealing with some personal stuff, so I try not to hold it against her. Everyone should get to have an education, and it's ridiculous that not everyone gets to. However, when you are getting an education, you shouldn't have to put up with things like bullying or social anxiety or depression or all of these horrible things that happen to people who are in school. And if you do have anxiety or depression, then there should be resources for you to get help with that. I had severe childhood depression when I was in middle school, and I got therapy for that. I had therapy for 6 years. The week before I started high school, all of that stopped. I don't know, can I even talk about this online? I had to go through high school without any form of help for any kind of mental illness whatsoever, which was like extra frustrating because my mother died on my first week of high school. If you're gonna take away like state-funded therapy, maybe don't do it the week before a kid becomes an orphan, because that kind of sucks. Just a thought. Ooh, I can feel some tears. Oh, don't do that. The second thing I wanted to bring up is the whole like girls across the globe have this, you should be happy kind of thing. And it's understandable. I understand the idea of like counting your blessings and being thankful for what you do have. But I feel like if you really want to follow the logic of you should be happy because you have things others don't, then you should also be following the logic of you can never be happy because other people will always have it better than you. You are allowed to be sad. You are allowed to complain. My childhood sucked. Which brings me to the third thing that I wanted to talk about, and that is you're lucky. I don't like it when people invalidate the suffering of strangers. Like, it just makes me sad and angry and frustrated. I just don't like it. To begin with, I grew up really, really poor. This is the trailer that I grew up in. I grew up dirt poor in a small, poor, working class town. My father left my family when I was 2. My mother was disabled, so she couldn't work. We were on food stamps in a tiny, tiny trailer. For anyone who doesn't know, food stamps, and I think it's called SNAP now, are like government-funded food programs for the poor. So essentially the government will give you a certain amount of money on a card if you are incapable of affording food. So the government would just give us like $200 in food stamps once a month, and then we would have that money to buy food. We also used to go to food banks, and then we would collect these boxes once a month of food that was donated. I grew up on the receiving end of canned food drives. Also, stop donating like canned yams and green beans. Like, no kid wants to eat a can of green beans for dinner. Just a side note there. Sometimes if we couldn't afford the electric bill or the water bill, then my mom would have to sell the food stamps. Growing up in a family that had to choose between buying food and electricity should not be normal. Growing up in the conditions that I grew up in should not be considered normal. And yet, as a kid, I thought I was the lucky one. I believed people when they would tell me, you're lucky because you have a roof over your head. You can get food from food boxes. You can survive. You're lucky. But you know what? Those people. I realized I wasn't lucky. I was dirt poor. I think that's why this tweet just bugged me so much, is because I grew up hearing people say that to me. Holy shit, why am I crying? Now that I'm older and I have hindsight, I have realized that I was not lucky. No child should have to grow up in the conditions that I grew up in. And so I detest that phrase now, especially when someone says it to people that they don't know. You can't just tell someone that they're lucky when you know nothing about the situation that they're going through. And at this point, this has nothing to do with Louise. It's just people in general who use that phrase. I grew up poor, and people used to tell me that I was lucky. And it's just frustrating. It's just really sad, and it's really frustrating. Sorry for the crying. Did not mean to go there. I may have mentioned some of this before, but it's just worth including in this video. Because people would say to me, oh, you're lucky, you have a roof over your head, you have some food. I would always make it a point not to try and invalidate when other people who had more than I had would complain. So if I had a friend in school who was complaining about how her parents would just barge into her room, I wouldn't be like, oh, you have your own room? Oh, you have a door? Oh, you have parents? Because I knew that even though I had less than she did, there were other people who had less than I did. It's something that in their lives makes them unhappy, and I can understand that. In the same way that if I complain about only having canned yams and canned green beans to eat, I don't want someone to discredit that just because there are other people in the world who have even less. I'm calm now. Everything's good. Just the fact that I thought the conditions that I was growing up in were normal. It just makes me so sad. No child should ever have to grow up in the conditions that I grew up in. I'm just a whiny little orphan girl. Just ignore me. I just kind of need to make a video to tell you guys I'm not dead. So this is it. Sort of. Sorry for like freaking out and crying and stuff. I just have like strong feelings when it comes to this. Because I grew up dirt poor, hearing people telling me that I was lucky. And I believed them. I was wrong. So I just want to say, yes, you should be thankful for everything that you have, but you should acknowledge that the world still sucks. Your life could be better, and the lives of others could be better, and we should just work to kind of bring everyone up instead of saying, I'm better than this person, so therefore I should be happy. That's not how it actually works. If you're content with the state of the world, you're not going to help make it better. Granted, that's a little bit jumping to conclusion. That's enough of me being all lectury. I'm gonna go. I'm sorry about this super rambly video. I promise I'll have a real one that I'm working on. It's a little bit better. I think that's it. If you like this video, please show that you like it by liking it. I'll give you 300 awesome points for enduring my face. Unfortunately, I think that's all the crying that I have time for today, so I will see you guys later. Bye. Can you feel the emotions